How to make smart decisions every time. Cultivate inner stillness to hear the truth. Train your mind to discern between noise and wisdom. Understand the emotional roots of your choices. Use environmental cues as mirrors, not master. 5. Recognize the power of delayed gratification. 6. Align decisions with long-term vision, not temporary feelings. Be aware of cognitive biases that sabotage clarity. 8. Use reflective journaling to process complexity. Surround yourself with mentally clear and emotionally balanced people. 10. Let faith and logic work hand in hand. Introduction. There comes a moment in every person's life when everything seems uncertain. The road ahead is foggy, the choices are many, and the voices around us, both external and internal, grow louder, more persuasive, more conflicting. In such moments, decisions are no longer just about right or wrong. They are about identity, destiny, and direction. The world we live in is chaotic, saturated with stimuli, distractions, and temptations that promise everything yet deliver nothing. In this noise, smart decisions are not made by accident. They are forged in silence, clarity, and truth. We are not just logical beings. We are emotional and spiritual creatures, shaped by the environments we inhabit and the traumas we've carried. A poor decision is rarely just a misstep in reasoning. It's often the echo of a wound left untreated or a belief unchallenged. Psychological environments, the landscapes of our inner world, must be understood and healed if we are to become people of wise action. Without internal harmony, no amount of external knowledge will lead us to peace. And then there's the outer environment, the people we associate with, the noise we consume, the values we unconsciously absorb. These invisible forces shape the decisions we make every single day. From what we eat, say, or believe, to how we love, forgive, and move forward. It's not enough to read the map. We must also read the terrain. And the terrain includes the emotional storms we've weathered and the social climates we now walk through. This message is not for the casual listener. It's not for the one who wants fast food for the mind. This message is for the seeker, the warrior, the one who wants to break cycles of poor judgment and step into a life of intentionality and truth. If that's you, then stay with me, because today we're going to uncover the 10 spiritual and psychological laws of smart decision-making. Laws that, if followed, will not only change the quality of your decisions, but transform the trajectory of your life. Cultivate inner stillness to hear the truth. In a world filled with noise, stillness has become the rarest form of power. It's not that wisdom is absent, it's that it's buried beneath layers of chaos, distraction, urgency, and emotional distortion. Smart decisions are not born in the middle of a storm. They are born in the eye of the storm. That sacred place of silence, calm, and spiritual clarity. Cultivating inner stillness is not a one-time event. It is a disciplined practice, a lifestyle of pausing before rushing, breathing before reacting, and listening before speaking. The mind, left untrained, becomes a sponge to the chaos of the world. It absorbs panic from headlines, fear from culture, urgency from deadlines, and expectations from society. All of this external noise infiltrates our psychological environment, contaminating the clarity we need to make wise choices. Without stillness, the soul becomes anxious, reactive, impulsive, and impulse is the enemy of wisdom. Stillness is not just about being quiet. It is about becoming deeply present. To be present is to fully inhabit this moment, not the regrets of the past or the fears of the future. When we become truly present, we activate a higher awareness, a deeper perception. We begin to see not just what's in front of us, but what's beneath the surface. And it's this deeper seeing that allows us to make decisions that align with truth, not just survival. Many of the worst decisions we make come from unresolved trauma. Inner chaos will always rush you. It will push you to decide prematurely just to silence the discomfort inside. But when you've cultivated stillness, you learn to wait, to sit in the tension, to not move until the truth becomes clear. This is the beginning of divine intelligence, the ability to sit with uncertainty long enough for the right path to emerge. People often ask, how do I know what the right decision is? The answer is, the truth is always there. But your mind must be quiet enough to hear it. Like tuning a radio, you have to filter out the static. That static could be unresolved guilt, bitterness, fear of judgment, or the trauma of past betrayals. And so the journey to stillness begins with healing. The more healed you are, the quieter your inner world becomes. And the quieter your inner world, the sharper your discernment. One powerful way to cultivate inner stillness is through morning silence. Before the world begins to shout, before your phone demands your attention, before emails pile up, choose stillness. Sit in a quiet place. Breathe deeply. Don't ask for answers. Just become still enough to hear your soul. In that space, anxiety begins to unravel. In that silence, clarity begins to form. It is here that wisdom whispers what noise drowns out. Stillness is also nurtured through nature. The psychological environment is deeply influenced by the physical environment. A cluttered, noisy, overstimulating space often reflects a cluttered mind. But nature, trees, rivers, mountains, wind carries a rhythm of peace. Spend time in nature not to escape reality, but to recenter yourself within it. Walk barefoot on the earth. Feel the breeze. Listen to the birds. This is not a poetic suggestion. It is a neurological prescription. Nature regulates the nervous system, which in turn regulates your clarity. In moments of stillness, ask the deeper questions. Is this choice aligned with who I truly am? Will this decision bring me long-term peace or short-term relief? Am I being led by truth or by fear? These questions pierce the fog of confusion, but they only surface when we stop running and start listening. You also cultivate stillness by detaching from the need for approval. Much of our decision-making is clouded by the fear of what others will think. But the truth is, when you are anchored in stillness, you no longer need external validation to confirm your internal knowing. The still soul does not beg for applause, it simply obeys truth. Spiritual practices like meditation, prayer, fasting, and deep breathing are not religious obligations, they are tools to return you to stillness. They quiet the anxious brain, they center the soul, they align the spirit. And when you are centered, every decision is filtered not through anxiety, but through wisdom. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop pleasing and start discerning. Remember, the smartest decisions are not made in haste, they are made in peace. And peace is a fruit of stillness. So if you want to start making decisions that bless your future and align with your destiny, you must cultivate inner stillness, not just on the outside, but in the core of your being. In the end, the voice of truth is not loud. It doesn't shout, it whispers, and only the still can hear it. Train your mind to discern between noise and wisdom. We live in an age where noise is not just around us, it is inside us. Every moment, our minds are assaulted with information, opinions, social media updates, conflicting advice, and internal anxieties. The modern world is a battlefield of attention, and those who win are not necessarily the most intelligent, but the most discerning. Smart decision-making demands that we train our minds to distinguish between noise and wisdom, between echo and truth, between what is urgent and what is important. Noise masquerades as urgency. It screams for your attention. It comes dressed as breaking news, viral trends, emotional reactions, and seductive opportunities. But wisdom does not scream. It speaks in patterns, in consistency, in the quiet knowing that is not tied to the applause of the moment. The tragedy of our time is that many people are making permanent decisions based on temporary noise. And so the mind must be trained, not just filled with data, but shaped with discernment. To train your mind is to discipline it. You must begin to ask, who am I listening to? What voices have I given access to my inner chamber? Who are the people, the channels, the books, the platforms that are feeding my decision-making process? Not every loud voice is a wise voice. Not every emotional message is a truthful one. In fact, some of the most manipulative influences today are those that feel the most entertaining, the most relatable, or the most emotionally moving. Discernment begins with awareness. You must become a student of your own reactions. When something makes you feel fear, anger, envy, or desperation, pause. Those emotions are often indicators that noise has entered your system. Wisdom produces clarity, peace, and alignment. Noise produces confusion, urgency, and self-doubt. Learn the emotional fruit of each message, and you will begin to see what is healthy for your mind and what is poisoning your judgment. One of the greatest strategies to filter noise is the practice of mental fasting. Just as the body needs detoxification from processed food, the mind needs detoxification from toxic information. Choose one day a week to disconnect from the world's noise. Turn off your phone, avoid the news, log out of social media, and just be. Let your mind breathe. Let your soul reset. In that silence, clarity begins to rise again. The noise settles and wisdom resurfaces. Another key practice is slowing down your decision-making process. In the rush of life, we often feel the pressure to respond immediately, but wisdom is never in a hurry. Delay your response. Sleep on it. Seek counsel. Journal your thoughts. Ask the deeper questions. What is motivating this choice? Is this decision aligned with my core values? Is this opportunity pulling me toward my purpose or away from my peace? Slowing down gives wisdom time to surface. We must also develop mental resilience, the ability to stand in our own convictions even when the crowd is loud. Noise will always try to intimidate you into conformity, but a trained mind knows how to stand alone when necessary. It listens deeply before speaking. It tests the spirits of ideas. It understands that truth is not always popular, and popularity is not always true. Your ability to say no to the noise is what protects your yes to purpose. Mental training also involves critical thinking. Question everything, not with cynicism, but with curiosity. Don't just accept what you're told, examine it. Who benefits from this narrative? What data supports this claim? What perspective is being left out? The untrained mind is gullible. The trained mind is grounded, and only a grounded mind can make grounded decisions. In a psychological sense, noise can come from unresolved inner voices as well, voices of shame, guilt, or low self-worth. These voices distort how we interpret external input. If your inner dialogue is toxic, even wisdom will sound like criticism. That's why training the mind also includes healing the wounds. As you heal, your perception sharpens. You begin to hear wisdom not as condemnation, but as guidance. Environment matters too. Your mental clarity is deeply tied to your surroundings. The people you spend time with either sharpen your discernment or drown it in drama. The spaces you occupy, your room, your digital world, your calendar, either promote reflection or provoke distraction. Train your environment the way an athlete trains their body. Curate what goes in. Remove what creates chaos. Invite what brings peace. Finally, we must be intentional about feeding the mind with wisdom. Read books by wise thinkers. Listen to voices who have stood the test of time. Study the patterns of truth. Meditate on timeless principles, not temporary fads. Wisdom is not discovered, it is pursued. It requires humility, hunger, and habit. If you train your mind to discern between noise and wisdom, you will save yourself from 1,000 unnecessary detours. You will become a person of depth in a world of surface. You will move with purpose while others drift with trends. And you will make decisions that build legacies, not just lifestyles. Understand the emotional roots of your choices. Behind every decision we make, there is a silent force that often goes unnoticed: our emotions. While logic may structure our choices, emotions often drive them. A decision may seem rational on the surface, but beneath it lies a complex web of feelings, fears, desires, unresolved trauma, and unmet needs. To make smart decisions, you must be willing to go deep, to ask yourself not just what you are choosing, but why you are choosing it. This is the soul work that separates the impulsive from the intentional. Many people repeat the same mistakes because they never investigate the emotional patterns behind their decisions. They think they have a decision-making problem when in fact they have a healing problem. For instance, someone may constantly choose toxic relationships, not because they lack awareness, but because they are unconsciously repeating the emotional script of their childhood, seeking validation from those who withhold it. Until this emotional root is acknowledged, every decision will be a repetition of the past. Understanding emotional roots means tracing your decisions back to their origin. What need were you trying to meet when you said yes to something that hurt you? Was it the need to be seen, to be accepted, to avoid conflict, to feel powerful, to not be alone? When you understand the emotional hunger behind your choices, you can begin to feed that hunger in healthier ways. And once your needs are met in truth, your decisions no longer come from desperation. We must also recognize how fear distorts our decisions. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. These fears act like filters on a camera, distorting the image we see, twisting the clarity we need. A fearful mind makes defensive choices, not strategic ones. It chooses what is safe, not what is true. But once you confront your fears head on, you begin to move from reaction to revelation. You begin to choose from courage, not cowardice. Emotional maturity is the soil in which smart decisions grow. An emotionally immature person will be ruled by moods, easily triggered, and constantly needing others to regulate their emotional state. But an emotionally mature person has learned to sit with discomfort, to name their emotions, to delay reaction, and to respond with clarity. This maturity doesn't come overnight. It comes through intentional inner work, therapy, spiritual reflection, and honest self-assessment. The body is an emotional map. Sometimes your body will tell you what your mind hasn't processed. Anxiety in your chest when you're about to say yes to something you should decline. Tension in your shoulders when you're around someone who drains your spirit. Fatigue when you're betraying your values. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. Learn to listen to your physical reactions. They are emotional data, and when you understand them, you are less likely to override them with poor choices. Another key aspect is the role of shame. Shame is a silent manipulator. It tells you you're not worthy, that you must prove yourself, that you must accept whatever is offered because you don't deserve better. Decisions made in shame are always decisions made in self-betrayal. You settle for less. You tolerate dysfunction. You abandon your truth. But when you heal from shame, your choices reflect dignity, not desperation. You begin to choose what honors your value, not what confirms your fears. Your emotional environment is also shaped by your relationships. If you are constantly around people who manipulate you emotionally, who gaslight you, guilt trip you, or punish your honesty, you will always make compromised decisions. But if you are surrounded by people who respect your boundaries, speak truth in love, and model emotional health, then your emotional landscape becomes a safe space for wisdom to grow. Change your circle, and you'll often change your choices. To understand the emotional root of your decisions, journaling can be a powerful tool. Write down your thoughts before and after making a decision. Ask yourself, what was I feeling? What was I afraid of? What need was I trying to meet? What part of me felt seen or unseen in that moment? Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. Patterns reveal wounds, and wounds once seen can be healed. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate emotion from decision-making, it's to integrate it in a healthy way. Emotions are messengers. They tell us what we value, what we fear, what we need to address, but they are not masters. Let your emotions speak, but don't let them drive. Listen to them, thank them, process them, and then choose from a place of healed clarity. When you understand the emotional roots of your choices, you gain a profound power, the ability to break cycles. You stop repeating generational patterns. You stop chasing the same outcomes. You stop sabotaging your future to survive your past. You step into a new emotional paradigm, one where your decisions are not reactions, but revelations. Use environmental cues as mirrors, not master. We are all constantly influenced by our environments, whether we acknowledge it or not. From the colors of the walls around us to the sounds we hear on a daily basis. From the people we spend time with to the digital spaces we scroll through, everything sends us signals. These environmental cues either reflect our values or distort them. The mistake many people make is not recognizing the power of these cues. They surrender to them. They let their surroundings define their direction instead of using them as mirrors for self-awareness. Your environment is not neutral. It is charged with energy, memory, and meaning. Walk into a cluttered room and your mind feels scattered. Walk into a space of peace and order and you feel clarity return. Spend a day surrounded by toxic attitudes and your spirit begins to absorb the tension. But spend time in a space of truth, encouragement, and purpose, and you walk away empowered. If you want to make smarter decisions, you must first make smarter environmental choices. The key is this: use your environment as a mirror, not a master. What do we mean by that? A mirror reflects. It helps you see what's happening within you. A master controls. It dictates your actions and overrides your inner voice. Too often, we allow our surroundings to master us. We wake up and immediately check our phones, letting the news, social media, and chaos of the world enter our minds before we've even connected with ourselves. We say yes to things just because others around us are doing them, not because they align with our truth. We dress, speak, spend, believe, not from conviction, but from cultural conditioning. But if you flip the script and begin using your environment as a mirror, everything changes. You begin to ask, what is this space revealing about me? Why am I drawn to this environment? What emotions rise up when I'm here? What decisions do I tend to make in this setting? When you ask these questions, your environment becomes a diagnostic tool, a reflection of your inner state, and from there, you gain power. Let's take your workspace as an example. Is it chaotic, cluttered, and distracting? That could reflect a cluttered mind or avoidance patterns. Or maybe it's hyper-organized and sterile, perhaps reflecting a desire to control because you feel uncertain inside. Neither is right or wrong, but both are clues. What about your relationships? Do the people you regularly interact with encourage clarity or confusion? Do they hold space for your growth or shrink you with their criticism? Your relationships are environmental cues too, and they will either sharpen your discernment or sabotage it. Your digital environment matters just as much. What do you consume online? What kind of content floods your feed? Are you feeding your brain wisdom, truth, and purpose, or distractions, comparisons, and empty noise? Every like, share, scroll, and video plants a seed in your mental garden. Garbage in, garbage out. Your decision-making capacity is only as clean as your mental input. Curate your digital environment like your future depends on it, because it does. One of the most transformative habits you can develop is environmental auditing. Take time weekly to reflect on the spaces you occupy. Physically clean your space. Spiritually cleanse your atmosphere through prayer, meditation, or intentional reflection. Emotionally evaluate your social circles. Ask, does this space elevate my clarity or cloud it? Does it align with my values or pull me away from them? What do I need to remove, rearrange, or reinforce? We must also consider environmental rituals, daily practices that create psychological safety and clarity. Morning silence, evening gratitude, midday resets, having a sacred space, be it a corner of a room, a chair, or a journal, where you connect with your purpose daily is a powerful anchor. These environmental rituals remind you of who you are and what you stand for. In a world that tries to shape you into its image, these practices shape you into your truth. The goal is not to escape your environment, it is to engage with it consciously. Not every environment can be changed immediately. Some of us work in chaotic spaces or live with people who don't reflect our values. But even there, you can bring awareness. You can anchor yourself in truth. You can create micro-environments of peace within larger storms. A single candle in a dark room changes the entire space. And finally, remember this: you are also someone else's environment. Your presence, words, energy, and habits influence others. Be the mirror you wish to see. Reflect clarity, reflect grace, reflect wisdom. When you do, you not only make better decisions, you empower others to do the same. When you use environmental cues as mirrors, not masters, you break the chains of unconscious influence. You step out of autopilot and into awareness. You stop reacting to your surroundings and start shaping them. And in doing so, you create a life where every decision reflects your truest self, not your loudest environment. Recognize the power of delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is one of the most powerful forces behind every wise decision, every long-term success, and every story of self-mastery. It is the art of saying "not now" to what is tempting in the short term, so you can say yes to something far greater in the long run. And while the modern world preaches instant satisfaction and fast rewards, history and wisdom both testify that those who rise, those who lead, and those who live with depth have learned the sacred strength of patience. In today's culture, we are constantly encouraged to seek immediate relief. Ads promise overnight results. Apps offer dopamine hits with every scroll. Entertainment seduces us into escaping discomfort rather than growing through it. But here's the truth. Every time you choose instant gratification, you trade potential for pleasure. You surrender vision for comfort. And slowly, without realizing it, your decisions become dictated by what feels good instead of what is good. Delayed gratification is not suppression, it is strategy. It is a mindset that says, I will not sacrifice my destiny for my appetite. When you delay gratification, you strengthen the part of your brain that is responsible for executive function, long-term planning, and self-control. Neurologically, this builds your capacity to see beyond the present moment and calculate the cost of impulsive choices. Spiritually, it aligns your decisions with your higher self rather than your lower urges. Think of a farmer. They plant seeds not for today's hunger, but for tomorrow's harvest. They water soil they cannot yet see bloom. They endure droughts, storms, and seasons of silence, all because they believe in what is coming. Smart decision-making works the same way. You invest, wait, trust, and endure. Not because it feels easy, but because the reward is worth it. Every wise decision demands a delay, and in that delay, your character is being formed. One of the greatest indicators of personal maturity is your ability to wait without complaint. Children cry when they don't get what they want immediately. Adults build legacies by learning to delay what they want now for what they value most. Every addiction is rooted in an inability to delay gratification. Every broken commitment, impulsive reaction, and sabotage goal is proof that the appetite won. But every breakthrough, every healed relationship, every financial victory, every health transformation, they are built on the back of self-denial and delayed reward. Let's apply this to decision-making. When you're faced with a choice, pause. Ask yourself, am I making this decision to escape discomfort or to embrace growth? Am I choosing what relieves me now or what grows me later? If I say yes to this today, what does it cost me in a month, in a year, in a decade? Most bad decisions are rooted in short-term thinking. Most wise decisions are rooted in long-term vision, and vision is the fruit of discipline. You must also recognize that delayed gratification requires an internal reward system. If your only source of motivation is external validation, you will always chase applause rather than purpose. But when you begin to reward yourself internally, with peace, self-respect, alignment, and the knowledge that you're building something real, you no longer need to chase temporary highs. You become grounded in something deeper. Even in relationships, this principle holds true. Emotional maturity is the ability to hold space for tension, discomfort, and difficult conversations without fleeing, reacting, or abandoning. It's the ability to say, we may not feel good right now, but we're building something stronger if we stay. That's delayed gratification in its most intimate form. Choosing connection over convenience, depth over distance. The practice of fasting, whether from food, technology, speech, or entertainment, is a powerful spiritual exercise in delayed gratification. It trains your spirit to say no to the body's demands. It clears your vision. It reminds you that you are not a slave to appetite. Whether you fast for a few hours or a few days, the principle remains. You reclaim power over your impulses, and that power becomes the foundation for clear, wise, and intentional decisions. It's important to note that delayed gratification is not about suffering for suffering's sake. It's about purposeful restraint. There is a difference between delay that leads to destiny and delay that leads to despair. The former is active. It's waiting with expectation and faith. The latter is passive. It's waiting in fear or apathy. Make sure your delay is partnered with preparation, vision, and belief. Create systems that support delayed gratification. Budget your money, meal prep your food, schedule your screen time, set boundaries in your relationships. These are not restrictions. They are reinforcements for the life you truly want. And when you fall short, which you will, don't shame yourself. Learn, recalibrate, and keep moving. Mastery is built one choice at a time. In a world of shortcuts, become a steward of the long road. Let others rush ahead for fast success. You stay steady, you stay rooted, you plant the seeds, you water them, and you wait. Because you know what they don't. That real success, lasting peace, and smart decisions are not born in a moment of impulse, but in the disciplined silence of delayed gratification. 6. Align decisions with long-term vision, not temporary feeling. Every decision made in haste, based on fleeting emotions, bears the risk of regret. Emotions are powerful. They stir us, shape our perceptions, and color our experiences. But they are also unstable. They rise and fall like tides, sometimes reflecting truth, sometimes masking it. If you make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion, you may anchor your future to a moment that was never meant to last. Smart decision-making demands a higher perspective, one that transcends the current mood and peers into the long-term impact. Temporary feelings can blind us to the consequences of our actions. They can convince us to quit too soon, say what we'll later regret, buy what we don't need, or go where we were never meant to go. Emotions aren't the enemy, but they must be interpreted, not obeyed blindly. Consider the difference between reaction and response. A reaction is immediate, emotion-driven, and often impulsive. A response is thoughtful, value-based, and long-range. When you align your decisions with your long-term vision, you allow values, not moods, to guide you. This shift from emotional reactivity to visionary leadership transforms your decision-making into a sacred practice of purpose. One practical way to realign your decisions is to write down your long-term vision. What are your spiritual goals, career goals, emotional health goals? What kind of person do you want to become in 5, 10, 20 years? Every decision you make should move you closer to that vision, not further from it. Use that vision as your compass, especially when your emotions are turbulent. Emotional storms will come. You will feel betrayed, disappointed, misunderstood, afraid, excited, hopeful. All of these emotions are valid, but none are stable enough to build a life on. You need something deeper, something rooted. Vision gives you that root. It holds you steady when emotions try to shake you. It whispers, "Stay the course," when everything in you wants to run. People who live by vision don't always feel good, but they always grow well. They understand that today's pain can be tomorrow's wisdom, that every no they say now is a yes to their future. They do not abandon the process because of momentary discomfort. They stay faithful to the long road, trusting that where they're going is worth what they're enduring. Let me ask you, when was the last time you made a major decision during an emotional high or low? Did it serve you in the long run, or did it become a lesson in slowing down and seeking clarity? We've all been there. The emotional rush can feel like certainty, but the heart, as wise as it is, can also be deceptive when wounded, overwhelmed, or misaligned. That's why your long-term vision must act as the guardian of your choices. Relationships are a prime example. Temporary feelings of attraction, loneliness, or infatuation can lure us into unwise partnerships. But when you filter your decisions through your vision, who you are, what you're building, and what kind of relationship supports that, you begin to make decisions not from need, but from truth. And that truth will protect you. Business, finances, health, spirituality, all require the same discipline. Aligning your choices with long-term outcomes means learning to pause, to breathe, to ask, will this decision matter in 5 years? Will I thank myself for this? Does this move me toward who I was created to become, or pull me away from it? This mindset doesn't kill spontaneity, it refines it. You can still enjoy life, embrace joy, and follow your heart, but with the awareness that your heart must be led by vision, not dragged by impulse. You begin to practice emotional maturity, feeling your feelings fully, but letting your values lead your actions. There's also power in mentorship. When emotions cloud your judgment, consult someone who sees clearly. A wise mentor can help you reconnect with your vision, offering perspective that emotions can't. Don't isolate when you're overwhelmed. Anchor, find someone who reminds you of who you are and what matters most. Finally, trust that emotions pass, but vision remains. Let joy strengthen you, but don't let sorrow derail you. Let love guide you, but don't let rejection define you. Let peace ground you, but don't let fear dictate you. Hold your vision higher than your feelings, because your feelings are real, but your vision is truth, and truth is the soil where smart, lasting, life-changing decisions grow. Then, be aware of cognitive biases that sabotage clarity. The human brain is magnificent, but it is not flawless. Every day, it processes thousands of pieces of information, and to manage this flood, it uses shortcuts. These shortcuts, called cognitive biases, can be helpful for efficiency, but they can also lead us to irrational and unwise decisions. If we are unaware of these mental traps, we will continue making decisions based on distorted thinking rather than truth. One of the most common cognitive biases is confirmation bias, the tendency to search for, interpret, and recall information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. Instead of seeking the truth, we seek validation. We ignore facts that challenge our worldview and embrace those that support it. This creates a self-reinforcing loop where the same flawed assumptions continue to guide our choices. Smart decisions require that we step outside of this loop and ask, what am I not seeing? What if I'm wrong? Another dangerous bias is the availability heuristic, which causes us to overestimate the importance of information that comes to mind quickly. For example, after hearing about a plane crash, you might decide that flying is unsafe, even though statistically it's far safer than driving. Our brains favor vivid, recent, and emotionally charged examples, even if they are outliers. In decision-making, this bias can lead us to exaggerate risks or dismiss real opportunities. Anchoring bias is yet another trap. This is when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. For instance, if the first job offer you get is $40,000, every other offer you evaluate may feel high or low, depending on how it compares to that first number. The initial information becomes an anchor that distorts subsequent judgment. Being aware of this allows you to pause, step back, and reevaluate decisions from a fresh, unbiased perspective. Sunk cost fallacy is one of the most emotionally deceptive biases. It tells us that because we've already invested time, money, or energy into something, we must continue even if it's no longer wise. People stay in unhealthy relationships, failing careers, or bad investments simply because they feel too far in to quit. But wise decision makers know past investment should never justify present pain or future regret. It's better to lose a little and change course than to lose everything out of stubbornness. Then there's groupthink, the tendency to align our decisions with those of a group to avoid conflict or rejection. When everyone around you is nodding their heads, you may suppress your doubts. You may go along with something you know is wrong just to feel safe. But consensus is not always clarity, and popularity is not always truth. You must be willing to stand alone if it means standing in truth. To overcome these biases, you must first admit you are not immune to them. Self-awareness is the gateway to clarity. Journaling your decisions, asking for feedback, and challenging your assumptions are powerful ways to begin. Surround yourself with people who think differently than you, not just those who agree with you. Learn to value truth over ego, wisdom over pride. Psychologically, decision fatigue also creates vulnerability to bias. When you're tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained, your brain will default to shortcuts. This is when impulsive decisions happen. One of the most strategic things you can do is manage your mental energy. Don't make big decisions when you're exhausted. Pause, rest, come back with a clear mind. In the digital age, the media you consume also shapes your biases. Algorithms feed you what you already like and believe. You end up in an echo chamber where your perspective is never challenged. To make smarter decisions, intentionally expose yourself to differing views. Read outside your bubble. Talk to people with opposite opinions. Not to agree with them, but to expand your lens. The goal is not to eliminate all bias. That's impossible. The goal is to be aware of them and reduce their impact. Think of it like driving. You can't control every hazard on the road, but if you're alert, you can avoid most of them. Awareness creates margin. Margin creates clarity, and clarity births wise decisions. The spiritual component of this principle is humility. It takes humility to admit you don't know everything, that your perspective is limited, that your emotions, beliefs, and preferences may cloud your judgment. But humility is the beginning of wisdom. It says, I am willing to be wrong so I can become right. So next time you face a big decision, stop and ask, what biases might be influencing me right now? Am I seeing the full picture or just the part I want to see? Am I anchoring to a past experience? Am I staying in something because I've already invested too much? Am I afraid to disagree with the group? Am I avoiding truth because it's uncomfortable? The answers to these questions may not be easy, but they will be liberating. Because clarity is not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. And the person who learns to see through their biases becomes a person who sees the world and themselves with accuracy, wisdom, and power. Use reflective journaling to process complexity. Reflective journaling is more than just writing down your thoughts. It's an act of organized self-examination. When the mind is tangled with indecision, confusion, or emotional overload, journaling becomes a mirror that reflects your inner world clearly. It slows the pace of your thinking just enough for truth to catch up. It removes the fog so you can see the road ahead. In a world that urges us to react instantly, journaling trains us to respond thoughtfully. When we write, we engage multiple parts of the brain: language, memory, and emotion. This integration helps bring subconscious thoughts to the surface. Often, we don't realize what's driving our decisions until we write them down. The process helps us locate inner contradictions, reveal hidden fears, and clarify what truly matters. The act of writing can expose irrational thoughts and emotional distortions that would otherwise continue to operate beneath the radar. One of the most powerful techniques is the why ladder. Start with a decision you're considering and ask yourself why. Then ask why again for each response. Repeat this until you've gone 5 to 7 levels deep. What you'll often find is that the first answer is rarely the root issue. This method helps you uncover the emotional or belief-driven core of your decision, revealing whether it's based on wisdom, fear, ego, or truth. Journaling also captures patterns. When you consistently write over time, you begin to see repetitions in your thinking, triggers, and responses. Maybe you keep making the same decision mistakes after a specific type of stress. Maybe your confidence drops every time you enter a particular environment. These patterns are clues pointing to deeper issues that need attention. And you can't change what you can't see. Moreover, journaling creates psychological distance. When your thoughts are swirling in your head, they feel overwhelming and tangled. But when they're on paper, you gain perspective. You become the observer, not just the experiencer. This space allows you to evaluate options more clearly and respond instead of react. It invites wisdom into the decision-making process. In the next 500 words, we'll dive even deeper into structured journaling methods, emotional processing, and how the environment you journal in can affect your clarity and truth. Surround yourself with mentally clear and emotionally balanced people. No matter how strong your values, your mindset, or your intentions, you are always influenced by the people around you. Your environment is not just physical, it is emotional, relational, and psychological. If you're surrounded by chaos, it becomes hard to maintain internal clarity. But when you're surrounded by emotionally healthy and mentally clear individuals, your decision-making process becomes more grounded, thoughtful, and aligned with truth. The people you keep close either support your growth or sabotage it. A mentally clear friend won't feed your panic. They'll steady your heart. They won't echo your confusion. They'll speak wisdom into it. Their lives reflect discipline, peace, and emotional intelligence. And when you walk with them, their clarity begins to sharpen yours. You think better. You decide better. You live better. Emotionally balanced people don't avoid feelings. They process them in healthy ways. They don't project their wounds onto others. They take ownership. They pause before reacting. They ask good questions. And when you share your struggles with them, they help you return to center. These are the companions of discernment, the allies of sound decision-making. If you want to grow in wisdom, you must curate your relational environment. This means setting boundaries with people who constantly drain your clarity, distort your peace, or encourage dysfunction. It may mean walking away from toxic patterns and stepping into relationships that challenge you, inspire you, and elevate your thinking. This doesn't mean you judge others. It means you protect the sacred ground of your own mind and heart. And as important as it is to find mentally clear and emotionally stable people, it's just as essential to become one. Your clarity will attract clarity. Your healing will draw healed people. The more whole you become, the more whole your circle becomes. And the more whole your circle becomes, the more you are empowered to make decisions that lead to purpose, peace, and long-term growth. In the end, your relationships are a reflection of your direction. Choose them wisely, and your decisions will follow suit. 10. Let faith and logic work hand in hand. The greatest decisions are made not by choosing between faith and logic, but by allowing both to guide in harmony. Faith without logic can lead to blind leaps that ignore wisdom. Logic without faith can create analysis paralysis, where nothing moves forward unless it's proven, controlled, and safe. But when you combine the clarity of reason with the courage of faith, you unlock a higher form of decision-making, one that's both grounded and guided. Faith gives you the boldness to move when the path isn't fully visible. Logic gives you the structure to examine the risks, the timing, and the facts. Faith listens to the whisper within. Logic evaluates the signs outside. Together they bring balance. One stretches you beyond fear. The other keeps you rooted in reality. Great leaders, creators, and visionaries operate from both. One eye on the unseen, one hand on the wheel. Trusting your spirit doesn't mean ignoring the facts. And analyzing the facts doesn't mean silencing your inner knowing. The best choices come when your heart and mind are in alignment. Pray and plan. Believe and build. Dream and do. This balance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And it will lead you to make decisions that stand the test of time. Conclusion: every decision you make creates a ripple in the story of your life. Each choice is a vote toward the future you desire or the one you fear. The secret to making smart decisions every time isn't found in perfection or certainty. It's found in awareness, alignment, and intention. We've explored the power of stillness, the need to quiet the noise, the importance of emotional healing, and the influence of our environment. But above all, we've uncovered this. Decision-making is a deeply spiritual and psychological process that must be cultivated, not rushed. When your decisions reflect your deepest truth, when they are birthed from clarity and not chaos, when they are aligned with both faith and wisdom, your life begins to change. Doors open, peace follows. Your path becomes clearer, not because life becomes easier, but because your inner compass grows stronger. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop surviving and start designing. This isn't just about big life decisions. It's about the daily ones. What you say yes to, what you walk away from, what you give your energy, time, and thoughts to. Because the little decisions made wisely eventually build a life you don't need to escape from, a life marked by peace, purpose, and power. Thank you for taking this journey of reflection and growth. May every principle shared today become a stepping stone toward greater clarity in your mind, strength in your spirit, and wisdom in your walk. May you become a person who chooses well, not out of fear, but out of deep inner alignment with truth. Be courageous, be discerning, be free. The power to decide well is already within you. Thank you.